Weapons. To be more specific, ranged weapons. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I made a video, I think like 2 days ago at this point, at the point of filming, going over ancient melee weapons to modern day melee weapons. Everything from straight hands to the wasp injector knife. I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'm just going to let you watch that video to fully understand just how crazy that weapon was. And in this video, we're going to be going over ranged weapons because that is a completely different can of worms because, yes, you may have guessed it, most of combat now is ranged weapons. What can I say? We lost testosterone over the years, and we also lost the will to fight close range. Like, it is kind of crazy. You know what? We'll cover that later on in the video, okay? We got lots of rants here. We got historical stuff. We got war rants. We got Native American rants. We got a lot in this video. This is going to be a treat to you people that like listening to me in the background. So I don't want to hold the carrot any longer and extend this intro. No. Please consider a like, comment, subscribe. 50k subscribers by the end of the year. There was one comment like 2 videos ago where somebody just said, nah, you're not going to get 50k by the end of the year. Prove that one dude wrong, and I dare you to comment that again, okay? We're going to get to 50k by the end of the year because you guys are awesome. You get videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and every once in a while I put out a video on the weekend just so you guys have a treat to listen to. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the historic ranged weapon tier list. Stone. Yup. You see, last video, I did hands, because I think throwing hands, well, that was the first melee weapon. I think throwing stones was the first ranged weapon, okay? I do legitimately believe... What the hell am I sitting on right now? Oh, yeah, that's my remote. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah. I do legitimately believe that the reason that in our modern society, we unironically think more of people that can throw a ball farther in, like, going into college than somebody who actually knows the cure to cancer, because there's a leftover genetic memory of if you could throw a rock and kill something, you were feeding your babies, okay? Listen, I think I've had this rant like 3 times already, but I'll say this again, okay? I grew up in a baseball family. I don't like baseball. Baseball is boring. I legitimately believe that if you try to introduce the sport of baseball today, nobody would give a fuck. Okay, legitimately, I believe that. I think baseball is the nepo baby of the entirety of the sports world, unironically. But maybe I'm just missing the hype, but I stand by my take, okay? However, I think baseball is like a leftover, like we actually care about. From back in the day, if you could throw a rock and kill a rabbit, boom. You had a honey, okay? Imagine your Unca, okay? You are the great ancestor of Sohan Ohtani and Derek Jeter. I give you a little baseball-sized rock. Your honey, Griselda, is getting talked to by your boy, Bunga. And Bunga is absolutely about to clap that. And you're thinking to yourself, nah, I'm going to go kill a meerkat in the African savannah. And I'm going to take that to my wannabe honey. And then we're going to have babies. Your genetic line will be secured. You grab your little baseball rack, boom, done. Taken care of. Now you have a dead meerkat, and now you have a honey. Genetic line preserved. And that's how Derek Jeter was born. Rock, though, after all that, I'm just going to put it in nothing. I think, unironically, it's probably the worst ranged weapon. It is highest skill. With that same skill, you can become an MLB player, okay? Maybe you guys like it. I don't. Nothing. I think that's valid. I don't see how anybody could disagree with me. The bow. Listen, man, you guys already know. Okay? You already know what's coming, but I'm not going to give you the full rant in this section because I don't think you guys realize how broken the bow was for 90 to 95% of the entirety of human existence. Okay? I want you to think about this. The bow is so ancient that the Native Americans, the people in Afro-Eurasia and Australia, were all able to figure out the bow and arrow, like, independently of each other. It was either independently, or we figured it out the moment the first humans were, like, migrating out of Africa, and they took that knowledge with them. Because the leading theory of how Native Americans were able to even get to North America was that they crossed over the land bridge in the most recent ice age. The most recent ice age is like 20,000 years ago. Like an absurd, like I say absurd amount of time in how we record time. Yes, an absurd amount of time. They knew what the bow was and were able to figure it out. I want you to, that's how old the bow was. And it was the meta for warfare until we figured out how to use a black powder. That is how difficult it was for the bow to be usurped as the meta of warfare. And I'm saving a few rants for later on in the video because bows were actually outperforming a lot of force multipliers for the majority of history, and it's only in like this recent not even 2,000 years, this most recent 200 years that black powder's been able to beat the bow and arrow. Bow and arrow is broken. It is. Like, I want you to think about this, just how, like, difficult it is to make a bow, okay? And this is something that somebody would have to figure out during the Ice Age, okay? Somebody had to figure out that you would have to go up to a tree, chop off a branch that wasn't completely dead, but it had enough moisture that it could bend without snapping. You had to go to that, okay? You had to cut it, save all the bark off of it, have little knobs on the end of it, make it a certain size, and then you have to get a string, okay? First off, never mind all the carving. You have, like, there's so many things that you would have to figure out in order for that to work. But let's just say you got the carving down. And then you had to find string, okay? What they used string for, they had to use the sinew of dead gazelles, okay? And dead deer, those types of animals. So you'd have to kill an animal, let it rot for a little bit, then take the leg of the animal that had no meat on it, and then you'd have to grab basically the Achilles tendon of the gazelle, cut strings off of that, and then make the bowstring. And then you'd have to set the bowstring, and then we're making arrow, dude, insane. Basically, they made a spear launcher. And trust me, there was other things that they tried to do before making the bow and arrow, but the bow and arrow, and I'll talk about this later in the video, dude. It really is absurd. I'm putting it in broken. It's a broken weapon. It was broken for 95% of human existence. And it's still optimal. Not in warfare. In certain scenarios, yeah. But it's still optimal even to this day. Bro, I have a modern compound bow. And I love it. The bow's dope. It has drip. It has aura. Broken. The Atali Spear launcher. So imagine you didn't have the back strength to do a bow and arrow. So what you did is you took a little stick, and then you put an arrow in it, and then you threw it like a baseball. Sorry, no, this sounds like a coping invention. This sounds like something that, I'm not powerful enough to throw to suit the bow and arrow, but I have a good arm on me. I'm gonna go throw this arrow at my food. Brother, get good. Get good, dog. Like, there's only a few. If you are a healthy individual, use a bow. Just use a bow. You're not gonna beat it. I would put this in It's a weak invention. Your genetics didn't last. There's a reason that this didn't pick up. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Meh. Not even valid. It's just bad. Awful. The sling. Listen, man. I think we all know about the sling. We know the sling from the David and Goliath story. However, some people, including myself, because we were gaslit as children, bro. We were horrifically gaslit as children. For the longest time, I thought the sling was a slingshot. I didn't realize that that's a completely different thing. No. Okay? I also thought that the original David and Goliath story was very similar to, I'm sorry, I gotta make an anime reference here. I thought it was like Sukuna versus Maharaja. To anybody who watched this JJK, y'all might have lost your mind with that comparison. However, it wasn't like that at all. Let me explain to you how this story probably played out. And then from an onlooker's point of view. You're strolling up, both of your armies, okay? Everybody's probably like 5'3", 5'4", at max 5'6". These are little people. Sorry to all my Sword King. They were all Sword Kings back in the day, okay? 5'4". Okay, you're walking in this battle. Everybody's 5'4". And you're getting your ass beat. You are getting absolutely decimated in this battle. And then you decide, you know what? Hey, we'll fight your best guy. We'll send one of our guys. Not even the best guy. No. They send in David. David, 5'4". 5'4", dainty thing, but was average for the time. Maybe even weak for the time. Fuck it, 5'2". And then he walks in. Everybody's cracking jokes. Literally everybody's cracking jokes. Okay? And then they send in what would be only described as Middle Eastern Shaquille O'Neal. This dude walks in. 6 foot, 6'8", 7'2", that's what they think he was. Based off like translations, that would be like what it would approximately be. Let's say 7'2" for comedic effect. Basically, you're fighting Shaquille O'Neal. You're walking into this battle. This man is holding a battle axe the size of you in one hand, and he doesn't even have a shield, bro. He has like a dagger in the other one, and he's ready to go. He starts doing the weapon twirl thing, and as that's going on, he's actively talking shit to you. He's talking about how I will kill the men, oxen off the children, and enslave your women. And you're over here thinking, I wish you would. And then you take out of your pocket, you're David in this situation, you take out a leather sling, a leather strap. And then you pick up a rock off the ground. Okay, not too heavy, not too light, just right enough. You drop it in your sling. And then you start twirling it like Thor's hammer. Boom. And you launch a rock at Mach 1, going straight to this man's frontal lobe. And absolutely just decimate this man's skull. I like to think that the last thought of Goliath was like, yeah, guys, I got... What's he doing over? Done. That was the last thing he said. He was like, what is he doing? Like, in reality, it wasn't like Sukuna versus Maharaga. No. This was the equivalent of getting hit with a hollow purple back in the day. One shot, dead. Broken. Well, not quite broken because, I'm sorry, the bow and arrow. Like, they didn't allow him to take a bow and arrow because they were like, nah, bro, that's not fair. He brought in a sling that you could shoot at Mach 1. And yes, I do mean that. Look up the fastest sling that anybody's been able to do. You can launch those things, dude. This was, here's the thing, it's skill, but, yeah. I'm gonna put it in great. That story's so good. All-time classic. Gonna put it in great. The sling, dope. I'll put it, great. I think great is good. Not as good as the bow, though. Bow was broken. They wouldn't allow him with a bow because they said that was broken. The blow dart. Here's my problem with the blow dart, and you're gonna understand in a second. It's gonna sound like I'm like hard pressing everybody else except for the bow, but no. Let me explain something to you. The blow dart, my biggest problem with it is it's basically useless unless you have a certain type of ammo. I'm gonna give them credit on different types of ammunition. However, the fact that I need a very specific type of poison that I might die trying to get really just strikes me as, is it really worth it? Like, here's the thing. Say what you want. I could pick up a rock from the ground and launch that at somebody with a sling. Now, I have to train with the sling in order to get good with it. That's the problem. There's a very low learning curve for the blow dart. Boom, put it in. Done. Okay, like it's that simple. And yes, the poison from a poisoned dart frog, really great name, by the way, is super deadly. One of the most deadly substances that we know of. It's a neurotoxin. Kills things within, I think it's 2 minutes. That's how fast it is. I like it. It's just the fact that it's the one ammo type that kind of... Okay, the good part about the ammo type is it stays poisonous for about 2 years, so you can stockpile very easily. However, I'm gonna put it at the top of good. I think top of good is valid. It's better than the Atali Spear thrower. However, I think good. At this point, yeah. There's a reason it didn't catch on is because Europe didn't have a ton of poisonous dart frogs. Sorry. The Bolo! If you guys ever watched Kangaroo Jack, you know exactly what this is. But to most people who didn't see that movie, because it was ass, by the way, basically what it is it's two rocks tied together, and there's a little knots on one side that when you throw it at something, it ties up their legs. Unironically, it looks super fun, and I just don't think I'm skilled enough at it. I feel like I would smack myself and KO myself if I tried to throw this thing. However, I do appreciate the fact that it's non-lethal, because just about everything here, we're ranging from not lethal at all, and it's actually just useless, to you're gonna kill him. Like, that's the range here. And I do appreciate non-lethals. But however, very tough to learn in the beginning. Very, very steep learning curve. Okay, I'm going to put it at the bottom of good. It's not as bad as the Atali Spear thrower, which is just embarrassing. I'm going to put it at the bottom of good. Not as good as the poison dart. That one's just, it's just more versatile. It just is. This one, it's non-lethal. That's all I got to say. The slingshot. This is what I thought David hit Goliath with. No, that wasn't the case at all. Very good for small game. I understand some people are gonna say, oh, well, you could use these to take down something bigger. What's the biggest prey that you think you could take down with a standard slingshot? I'm sorry, not really big, okay? Unless you are absolutely rocking the 50 BMG of the slingshot world, you're not doing much, pal. The slingshot, not that good. Good for small game. I might actually have to put this one in meh. It's better than the Atali Spear thrower, though. Again, embarrassing, slingshot, it's respectable for children, and fun if you're an adult. That's the best way I can describe it. But overall, unless you're killing something that is smaller than a squirrel, not that good. Maybe even a squirrel. Yeah, meh, I think that's good. Boomerang! One of the more creative ones here. Listen, there's a few places in the world that I feel like we're playing on creative mode for most of history with the stuff that they were coming up with. Australian natives, y'all are one of those groups, okay? Because you guys figured out the Bolo balls and boomerangs. Now, I'm gonna say this, though. Like, I understand you could definitely off somebody with it, but at the same time, I can't put it higher than the poison dart. It never caught on because the skill ceiling was very low. The learning curve was very tough. And I can't put it high because it never caught on. Catching on, okay, that's going to be a factor. The sling was made famous by one story. The bow and arrow was the meta for 95% of human existence. The boomerang outside of one area was barely optimal. It was a gift you gave children. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to put this one in meh. The slingshot's better, frankly, yeah. Greek fire. I wanted to put this one in melee, but it just isn't melee by design. Essentially, it's a flamethrower. Yes, we had flamethrowers, dog. We are actually 100% how they were able to do this, but they essentially were able to make a form of napalm. Yeah, shit is weird. History is a very strange subject that I love. But, Greeks, they figured out a way to make a napalm blaster, and they used it in naval warfare and to attack people that were sieging cities. Imagine, bro, you're just pulling up with a sword and spear, and you have like a trebuchet, not even a trebuchet, bro, you have a catapult, and they're hitting you with a fucking flamethrower. I would be like, who said you guys could have magic? Okay? This is cheating. That would be my immediate thought. However, there's definitely more, crazy weapons that I've heard of. However, based of how far they were, like, come on. When I think of napalm, I think of the USA in the Vietnam War. I didn't realize that Greeks had that dog in them. I'm actually going to put this one, just because of how far ahead they were, I'm going to put this one at the bottom of great. Dog, they discovered a flamethrower. It just never caught on because nobody could figure out how they did it. I love it. Bottom of, actually no, top of great. It goes above the sling. Because that became the meta later on. The sling didn't really catch on into modern day. The bow, like, it'll make sense. The Shuriken for you weebs out there. Throwing star for everybody else. It's dope. I got, like, again, very steep learning curve. It looks dope. It's drippy. It has aura. All the buzzwords. But outside of that, dude, like, done. Took you out. Absolutely get smoked. Get smoked, brother. And you just had better weapons at the time. However, easy to conceal. If you were good with them, they were pretty good. Here's my problem, though, okay? You had to hit some vitals in order for it to actually kill somebody, but it would be a pretty painful attack to get hit with. It's not going in meh. It's gonna go middle good. I'll put it above Bolos. Not above the dart gun. I'm gonna put this above Bolos though. I think that's a valid placement. The Kunai. Now the Kunai is also a throwable weapon, but it also can be used as a close range knife. And I think I'm actually gonna put that above the Shuriken, because it has short range capabilities that it's, very intuitive. Very intuitive design when you're using it up close. However, again, I gotta dock a point because the ease of use is just not there. It is drippy, it has aura, again. However, I feel like Japan... Okay, You'll understand the comparison in a second. Japan was focused on making things look really dope, but how well it worked was kind of like the number two, where China was playing on creative mode for basically the entirety of history and was this close to making a super weapon. You'll understand in a second, but I'm going to put the kunai above the shuriken, but below the poison dart. I think, yeah, no, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with me on there. I think that's good. Crossbow. Now, people have a misconception on the crossbow. They think the crossbow was made because it was more powerful than the bow. No. Like, not at all. Like, understand this, dude. People viewed archers in the medieval era the same way that we view, like, the Marines today. Like, they were the above-average soldier. Were they, like, Navy SEALs yet? No. That was more like knights and everything. And knights, we have romanticized a lot of history, bro. Like, I'm just gonna say this right now. This will be for a different video. You ever heard of knight chivalry? Yeah, no. Chivalry wasn't, like, something that the knights did. It was a code of laws that they had to give the knights because so many knights were just walking into villages, grabbing people's daughters out of their houses and just essaying them in front of their family. Like, it was such a bad issue that the king himself had to induct the rules of chivalry for how knights needed to act, or guess what the punishment was? Prison? No. We were gonna take away your land. Bro, medieval era was insane, dude. However, back to crossbows. No, the reason that crossbows were fairly widely used is because it was way easier to train somebody on a crossbow than it was to train somebody on a bow. By the end, there were so many sweats in the bow game and the archery game that archers were just viewed as almost like superhuman. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Either you're fighting on the front lines where you have a 95% chance of death, or I'm sniping you from a distance and I'm probably going to kill 95% of you. The crossbow was people's entry level in. However, they still liked archers better. One archer was worth 10 peasants. However, now you can make 10 crossbows and make 10 peasants into 10 mid-archers. They were mid. Archers probably just were talking mad shit to them the entire time. The crossbow originally was the training wheels of archery. And even now, if you walk into a bow shop asking for a crossbow, they're going to ask if you're special. I'm not even kidding you. That is a real thing that happened to me. That is why I have a compound bow and not a crossbow. I was bullied. However, one of the best things that ever happened to me, though. Crossbow, because of how it kind of evened the playing field, I'm going to put that in the middle of great. I'm not putting it above the literal ancient Greek flamethrower, though. That's so much better. Crossbow? Great. And based off this time in history, I think that's valid. The repeating crossbow. Okay. It is weird how close we got to making, like, modern weapons, but we just decided not to go any further. You're going to understand this when we get into ancient Chinese weapons, because I swear these people were cheating. Repeating crossbow. It was a semi-automatic crossbow. They even had a trigger that instead of shooting it like this, you... Like... Insane to me. However, they were actually, like, super difficult to pull back. So how it worked is you had basically, like, a bowl of arrows. Imagine this is like the trough of arrows, okay? And if it got to the bottom of the arrows, then you would pull back the string and you would shoot it. The reason that they were pulling it back like this was it was pulling back the crossbow string, and then they would pull the trigger to release the anchor, and it would launch it. So you had to... And how they were able to get that out is when you automatically push the lever up, it would release the anchor. So there was no triggers. It was just, imagine this is the trigger that they will, the lever. It would instantly go. Very smart design. Like, I know I'm not doing it justice. I hope the picture helps you visualize. That's a genius idea. Like, unironically, I'm impressed. Like, that's mechanically very smart. Of course, the repeating crossbow is going to go above the normal crossbow. However, again, it's not beating the absolute... Like, understand, archers were still outperforming these things because they could shoot from farther away. That is how good archers were for the majority of human history. And no. It gets crazier than that if we're going to talk about archers. But... let's take a break from that, and then we'll come back later. The Catapult. Yes, we're going to be covering some famous siege weapons, okay? You medieval nerds, okay? I'll give you a treat. Siege weapons were like the original tanks, essentially. Like, that's how I at least view it. Maybe I'm wrong. I know somebody just, like, spit in my direction watching this video. That's how I view catapults. Imagine I have somebody trapped inside a castle, and, you know, I can't break the walls. So I'm just going to load basically a picnic basket of death with burning hay, rocks, or cow feces, or the heads of fallen people, or literal dead cows. And I'm going to launch that into a walled-off city, and then just wait for them to die. The most genius idea I heard is that they would take dead pigs that were infected with, like, viruses, and then they would launch them into the walls of, like, these ancient medieval towns, and then they would just wait for the pestilence to take over, and then they would take the town. Genius. Also introducing biological warfare. Extra points. This was before the Geneva Convention, however. Because of how far this was a step forward, I'm actually going to put this. It wasn't broken. It wasn't broken, trust me. There's going to be more broken stuff later on. However, this is almost there. I would tie it with Greek Fire. Greek Fire is just super creative. However, this was the meta in warfare for a while. Another weapon. The Ballista. Basically, big crossbow. You understand what I'm saying here? I would, like, imagine the dopamine hit, though, of pulling back the Ballista and firing and hitting, like, 5 dudes. Like, you just kebabbed 5, peasants. The dopamine hit would have been legendary back in the day, okay? And I know that sounds effed up. However, I will say this again. If you were a medieval peasant, your entire life was either farming, trying to get laid, or going to war so you could have more money to buy farming equipment and to impress women to get laid. People romanticize the medieval era. I know I've already said this. It sucked. It really sucked. That was your entertainment. What was skewering people with a ballista? We have barely changed as a human race, damn. It's not my favorite. It's just a big crossbow. I guess I'll put it above the normal crossbow. I think the repeating crossbow is legitimately genius, though. The Hwacha, otherwise known as the flaming arrow launcher. Now, this is what I'm talking about. China's old-fashioned weapons were like, they were playing in creative mode, or like they had an idea of what the next patch of warfare was going to bring. They knew what the future updates were. Because I'm not even kidding you, this was a siege weapon. Basically was like a box of arrows, and they would ignite black powder, and they would launch arrows like modern day weaponry. They were so close to discovering the meta of future warfare. They had the right idea. Like, this looks like what you would have strapped to the sides of an Apache attack helicopter, but those shoot missiles. These shoot arrows, and they're propelled by fireworks. Genius. Like, that's actually genius, dude. I much respect. I'm actually gonna put this one above Greek Fire. I know that sounds crazy. I think I have to put this one above Greek Fire, and I'm gonna move the Sling down, because now we're getting super competitive here. Because this is almost the meta. This is almost what modern warfare was, but not quite there. The firework. Yes, the original fireworks were used for weapons. You would be amazed at, like, technology that was ahead of its time, and is used for, like, good stuff, or was used for, like, good things, like humanitarian aid, was actually made as a weapon. Like, the whole idea behind radios, broadcasting images, that was stuff that was meant for warfare. Fireworks were meant for warfare, and they were only for warfare for so long. The reason that they sought fireworks in the air was an intimidation tactic. Basically, when China would shoot fireworks into the air, it would be the equivalent of us having like a F-15 fighter jet fly overhead. It is basically us just letting the rest of the world know, yeah, we got this shit, son. That's what fireworks were. And fireworks... Like, imagine you're fighting ancient China, And you're over here like, oh yeah, we're gonna conquer these people, bro. I can just light all their houses on fire. It's made out of paper and wood. And they hit you with a fireball. My instant reaction would be, these motherfuckers found magic. I thought that was illegal. Again, dude, like, we got progressively better and better. Don't worry. S tiers are coming, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. I'm going to put this one... Actually, I'm gonna make a controversial take. Top of good, not quite in great. Why? Because you only have one shot. You only really have one shot. If you miss, you're done. At least the crossbow, you're hitting something. Like you're getting something done. Repeating crossbow, basically have a machine gun. The Trebuchet. Now, I didn't know what the difference was until I started researching for this video. So basically, you could transport a catapult and one as it's built fairly easily with horse-drawn carriages. Okay, you could take that to a sieging event. However, it wasn't until the siege was going on for like a month you would actually break out the Trebuchet, because it would take at least 15 to 30 days to build the fucking thing. And I didn't realize how big a Trebuchet was. That makes a lot of sense. You weren't going to take this to the battle already built. You had to take it in a few times and then build it up. They would just build Trebuchets made out of the wood from the forest. That's how long these battles were doing. They were literally making weapons on the fly. However, pretty damaging. I'm not going to put it above the catapult, even though it is more powerful, because you literally have to build it at the battle that you are in. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. The musket. Now we're getting into the origin, not like the start of the new meta of warfare. Okay? Muskets. I also think it's funny. People were mad that I didn't put bayonets in the melee video. No, the reason I didn't put bayonets in the last video is because the muskets were so bad if you missed, okay? That for the entirety of warfare was basically firing in lines, like firing squads, because by the 5th person firing, you had enough time to reload the gun. That is how, like, ineffective these things were, okay? Like, that's how bad they were. Now, when you were fighting somebody mano a mano, they just told you to turn the musket into basically a makeshift spear. That's essentially what happened. So yeah, technically it just became a spear, which shows how broken spears were that they were still using them when we had muskets, because they turned the musket into a spear. However, because it started the meta, again, it's not going above. It's not going to go above the bow and arrow because of some stuff that I'm going to talk about really soon. But I'm going to put the musket. I'm going to put the musket. Okay, I'm going to move crossbows down. We're evolving on the fly. Okay, I'm going to move crossbows down. I'm going to move Bolo down the meh. And the musket's going to go in great. Top 3 of great. Okay, it's just so ineffective if you're in a war and you're the only one that has it. We had to change how we did war to accommodate it. Another one that deserves a mention is the Blunderbuss. So the Blunderbuss was effectively the first shotgun. Like, no shit. Like, that's what it was. So how you would load this thing was basically, you would put black powder in it. You would put a piece of parchment paper or cotton. And then you would put basically pellets on top of that. And then you would put some more black powder. And then you would put another piece of parchment paper to basically make a makeshift slug. And then you would ignite a little piece of twine and then fire it. And essentially, yes, you just made your own version of birdshot. Like, that's effectively what it was, and you can customize, like, how powerful the round was going to be based off what you were going to put in it. And I think, based off that, I gotta put it at the same level as a musket. I think that's perfectly valid, honestly. The cannon! You would be amazed by how long we were using cannons, bro. Cannons were the shit for so long. Like, from the beginning of the musket era, going into the beginning of World War I, and in some countries to the tail end of World War I, cannons were the meta for a very long time. We had to figure out so many other weapons in order for the cannon to be obsolete. I'm gonna put this at the same level as like above the Ballista, above the Trebuchet. The Catapult was meta for longer, that's the problem. I'll move the Ballista down one. Ballista down one. We're evolving on the fly like normal history. That's what we're doing. Now we're gonna get into a few legendary rants, okay? The two weapons that I'm going to be covering is the 6-shooter Colt revolver and lever action rifles. Because the story behind these, they're called the guns that won the West, okay? And that's for a reason. Let me give you the brief story here. But first off, number one, I hate when people frame American history like we were absolutely decimating the Native Americans battle after battle, and they just couldn't stand a chance, and it wasn't even fair. Because that's not what it was like for the majority of it, bro. The Apache in Texas, okay, because after the Mexican-American War, we were able to take the land of Texas. However, we weren't able to settle it because that was the Apache's land. That's why Mexico was so okay with giving it to us, because they were like, yeah, no, the gringos can have it. That's also where the term gringo comes from, because we wore green uniforms. Fun fact, yep. Gringo was green go home. Green go home. Gringo. I'm not, like, seriously. That's where it came from. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, the U.S. military went over into what basically would become modern-day Texas into the West. And they were getting whipped, absolutely decimated by the Apache. Battle after battle for so long that they literally said, fuck that, bro. We ain't fighting them. Because they were using lever action. So, that's the... And I'm going to glaze the bow again. Part of the reason that the Apache were so good against us was because they were really good at horseback archery. They would be able to get off 3 arrows in the time it would get us to get 1 shot off. That is how effective they were. I don't know how to explain that, dude. Like, the Apache we're running phase with the American government and we're winning. I want you to think about how crazy that statement is. Okay? Like, this is the same people who beat the British Empire in the Revolutionary War. We were getting our ass beat by the Apache. No. And trust me, we're going to wrap this back to the revolver and the lever action in a second. So basically what happened is they allowed I'm just going to say immigrants. They let immigrants take land in the Manifest Destiny. People have this idea that the Manifest Destiny was just for Americans that, like, we're wanting a fresh start. No. The majority of people that went over to Texas to settle land, and they were given like 10 to 100 acres of land in Texas, were immigrants. Like, first generation immigrants, bro. They were coming straight off the boat from Scotland and Ireland. Some of them were Danish. It was to the point that 60% of all the people that were originally out west didn't speak English as their first language. And you want to know why we did it? Because the U.S. government, it was an easier sell to get people who never heard of the Native Americans to go to land to fight them than it was to get actually people who knew of the Apache. Imagine I offer you 100 acres and you say, fuck that, bro, they're going to kill me and take my children. Because that's what they would do. That's a different rant, bro. We could have a full video going over American lore. And trust me, no. I'm going to wrap this back to the revolver in a second. But there's a lot I'm skipping. So, they sent over basically American immigrants into the land of Texas to resettle the land, instigate a battle between the U.S. government and the Native Americans. The Apache, to be more specific. And they were just destroying us. It wasn't until the founder of the Texas Rangers came over and literally founded the Texas Rangers and gave them the Colt 6-shooter revolvers and lever action rifles, because the U.S. government had a deal with Springfield, which made the lever action rifles. Not the lever action, the bolt action rifles, because there's a lot I'm skipping, by the way. But lever action was better than bolt action, so that's what they gave the people who originally went over to Texas. And they were able to run a fade with the Apache to the point that the Apache left. Not wipe them out, no. They left. The Texas Rangers beat the Apache. No, that's like Satoru Gojo fighting Sukuna, okay? They ran a battle with that, and somehow were able to get a stalemate. Texas is indeed built different. Because of the historical value of it, I'm actually going to put the revolver and lever action in broken. That literally caused us to up our game in warfare. People say it's like, oh yeah, the Americans, they became good at war because of Revolutionary War, the Battle of 1812. Absolutely not. No, because we had to run a fade with the Apache. That is what made us different, dude. They made us better, okay? To quote... Man, I'm making a lot of anime references here, but I swear this does, okay? If you are a descendant of the Apache, stand proud. You were one of our toughest battles for centuries. And it took the American people to step up our game to beat you. The U.S. military literally gave up fighting you because you were winning. So yeah, broken. I love it. Now we're getting into semi-automatic weapons. So this is what I mean by this. The amount of time it was from Settling the West, like, I don't think you guys realize, but so I'm going to put this in gaming terms. Canonically speaking, Jack Marston from Red Dead Redemption 1 would likely be serving in World War I. I want you to think, that's how soon it was. If Arthur Morgan didn't die of tuberculosis, he would have been alive for the entirety of World War I. And World War I is, I could spend a full video talking about that. Man, there's a lot of history lore I really can get into. However, to keep it to weapons, that's where the M1 Garand comes from, which is probably one of our first... That was one of our first fully semi-automatic weapons. Definitely one of our first semi-automatic rifles. And that was definitely the meta going forward. And yes, I'm going to be handing out a lot of brokens, okay? Going in. But not to the M1 Garand. No. There was another weapon that was made in World War I. So, we stepped up our game. We went from bolt action to 6-shooters to lever action all the way to semi-automatic within the course of like 7 years. That's how quickly it was. I am going to put the M1, first semi-automatics, I'm going to put that in the top of great. Not quite broken for one reason. And that is the machine gun. Yep. The first machine guns that were used at a wide scale in like these world wars. And World War I doesn't get enough credit. People, whenever they talk about the World Wars, they talk about World War II, and World War II is like the entire world's Super Bowl. Everybody loves talking about World War II, except for the losers. USA. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to do that one time. Where was I? Oh yeah, World War I. World War I changed everything, okay? I think World War I is when war became terrifying. And that sounds crazy, but for the longest time, war, historically, was the only thing that you did for fun. When World War I happened, we literally got so good at combat, it became a competition of death. I forget who said the quote, but it was somebody, oh my gosh, it was in a country that no longer exists. But he says World War II was the end, was the beginning of the end. Because we got so good at warfare that we could make weapons faster than we could make children to wield them. Bro, that line goes unreasonably hard and terrifying at the same time. And the machine gun was the best example of this. And we made a weapon that could delete life so quickly that it became the new meta of war. S tier. That beat out the bow and arrow. That's how long the bow and arrow reigned. It wasn't until World War I was the bow and arrow officially dethroned as the king of combat. Broken. I think that's valid. Now, I was very hesitant to put this one on here, but poisonous gas. Technically, that's a ranged weapon. I think that's technically a ranged weapon. I actually have a funny story about this one. I know it sounds effed up, but there's a funny story. So before the Geneva Convention kind of came into play, poison gas was the meta for a very long time. There's tons of stories of how poison gas was used in trench warfare. It was broken in trench warfare, and it was for a long time, okay? And I'll be real with you, this is going to sound effed up, but I think you guys already know the placement. It was primarily used by Germany, but it was also used by a few other European nations. It wasn't just Germany. Germany just used it the most. Like, that was their shit. So that makes the next thing I'm about to say super funny. But before I say it, I'm going to put poisonous gas in broken. It was so broken that they literally had to outlaw it in the next patch. So I want you to think about that. Poisonous gas being taken in the Geneva Convention is the equivalent of your favorite weapon being nerfed in your favorite video game. The pump action shotgun. This is where the fun story comes in. Germany had the audacity to tell the United States and Canada, I was not aware of your guys' games when it came to committing war crimes. The amount of war crimes that Canada's actually the reason that, like, I believe it's like 16 war crimes exist because of how egregious they were during World War time. But we're, pump actions. Germany wanted pump actions to be made illegal because they said they were inhumane and too effective. Because I think people have a misconception when it comes to, like, firearms. They think that the more powerful the bullet, the harder it is to, like, surgically fix it. No. Pump action shotguns with buckshot, that you have the lowest chance of survival of basically any other round that we have, outside of, like, massive rounds. You have a better chance of surviving getting hit by an M1 Garand than you do surviving a hit at near. And people have this idea that shotguns are not good at far range. No. With buckshot, you can hit pretty effectively up to, I would say, 50 yards. Yeah, I would say 50 yards, it's still effective. With a slug, 100 yards, easy, bro. Like, that's how effective pump actions were. There's lots of reasons I can say they can, but we're not that type of channel. I'm gonna let a gun tuber tell you that, how effective these weapons were. But they were so effective that the country who made poisonous gas warfare was so salty about it that they said that they wanted to be made illegal. And they're still used to this day. I'm gonna put this in broken. It has the same cultural significance as lever action and revolvers do. It really does, and the fact that it is still part of the meta today. Yeah. I'm defending that. I will defend that. I'm gonna put that in broken. Now we're getting into automatic rifles. Like, automatic handheld rifles. Tommy guns, Thompson rifles. Same thing, but, you know, different names. And this, I have to put in broken. Like, this one, I don't even want to elaborate on it because I think you guys know. Automatic rifle. No, those are the meta. That is the meta today. Well, maybe not today. Okay, I'm spoiling too much. Broken. It's just broken. Like, it's not even fun to talk about. Like, how quickly we evolved when it came to warfare. It's actually sad that we put so much effort into making new weapons. I don't know. The flamethrower. Okay. I had to put this on here because Greek fire was on here. And I have to show how far we went with this. We have everything from actual flamethrowers to napalm launchers, napalm airstrikes, Vietnam, everybody. I'm going to put this top of great. The only problem that I have with it, okay, if we're going to go into World War II, I mean, technically we firebombed basically 90% of Tokyo and then dropped something else on top of them in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, yeah, technically fire-based weapons are also fairly broken. But I don't want to put another thing in broken. I'm petty. I'm sorry. But, no, look up all the firebombs we landed on the Vietnamese and Japan during World War II. The atomic bomb. It's like, this is the end-all be-all. This is the most like, I want this to be patched out in the next Geneva Convention, okay? Hopefully that nerf comes soon. This weapon is so powerful, it single-handedly kept world powers from fighting each other for the next 40 years. I want you to... not just that. Up to modern day. Like, we have not had a crazy, like, large-scale battle with another nuclear-capable country since the original bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because we're aware how damaging these things are. And they're so indiscriminate with the damage and how long-term it is that people are actively terrified of using it. Like, it is truly the hollow purple of war, okay? But it wipes out everything. Broken. And there you go. That is the historical weapons tier list. The ranged edition. I'm sorry I effed that up in the outro. You guys really liked the first video? No. Next video, unless these get really good, then we can go over some more modern forms, some more armor, sealed, stuff like that. However, I have another video that I'm planning that you guys have probably already seen the sneak peek of on my community page or Discord. Discord link's going to be in the description down below. On top of that, just look at my community page. You probably already know what the next video is. Completely free in the Discord. It just helps me discover videos. And with all that out of the way, please consider a like, comment, subscribe, share this video with somebody that you think would enjoy it, and please subscribe. We're trying to get to 50K by the end of the year. We're going to prove that one hate comment wrong. I don't know why that one bothered me, but it just did. We're getting to 50K by the end of the year. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Adios, guys.